Well, we have another bike to do here. This is a Copart purchase. Let's take a look. We have a ZX10, 04 ZX10R. If you guys know anything about these ZX10s, especially this particular model, they came a long ways. This was a big deal for Kawasaki back in the day. Really cool bike, powerhouse, lots of power. You know, in comparison to what they're putting out now, yeah, it's not quite the same as what they're putting out now, but Jesus, these are great bikes. Yeah, so I bought this one at Copart in San Francisco. It was in a little bit of a wreck. It looks to me like it was like they rear-ended a car or a pickup maybe, because the damage is just to the headlight. The front end's fine. The front wheel's fine. You'll see some front forks that are pretty twisted. These are in pretty good shape. It had a cell phone mount that was right here, and it ripped off the triple tree. So test riding it, will have to be very careful. But it looks like the headlight's not in bad shape. It just broke the mounts. You mount the headlight in, and you know, it obviously then fell over. There's a little bit of rash right here, but it's really not bad, as you can see. The tank's in really good shape. No damage to the tank. These aren't the original fairing. The original fairing is, I think these are aftermarket set, which is fine. So let's talk about this bike. So it was listed as didn't run, and it didn't have the mileage listing. So what that tells me is that, you know, the battery's not working, so they can't pull can't pull the mileage. So those are two clues, you know, when you're looking at a bike. If it doesn't list the mileage, that means they couldn't get the ignition to turn on to see it. You know, sometimes the Copart, they will put a jump pack on it to see if it runs, but for whatever reason they didn't on this one. It's a little bit more involved to get to the battery under the seat, so that's probably why. But nevertheless, that's a clue. When you're bidding on bikes, that's a clue as to why it doesn't run if they don't list the mileage. But anytime that they list it as doesn't run, you are taking a risk. I've bought in bikes that haven't ran, and it was other problems. But we got lucky on this one, and I put a new battery in it, and it fired right up. So it's a pretty good runner. It does have high miles, which is typical for these bikes, you know, 45,000 miles. And it does start. So it's a good runner. I'll take it for a test ride here in a minute. It has some goodies on it, you know. Somebody put an Akrapovic slip-on. I can't tell if it's a full system or if it's just a slip-on. I have to look at the header a little closer. Steel braided brake lines, you know, front and back. Rear sets. These look like, can't tell what brand they are, if they're cheap ones or if they're good ones. Steering damper, which helps. That's cool. Vortex handle clip-ons. No, that's a good thing. So it's got a couple goodies. Not a ton, but a couple goodies. So let's go over the damage. So the only damage I could find is You're going to need a new upper fairing stay, a left mirror. You don't need a full fairing kit, but I guess it just depends on what you wanted to do. If it was me and I was fixing to flip this thing, I'd buy a fairing kit. That's really it. Let's see, I got fairing support, fairing kit, triple tree upper, and a left mirror. Yeah. So the tank's in really good shape. That's a big expense. And the front end is in really good shape. Those are big expenses. So let's talk about the numbers. So I paid out the door, I paid $1,748. Paid $400 to have it shipped. A fairing support is about 33 bucks. A fairing kit is about 749 bucks. You might be able to be cheaper if you could find the fairing pieces you want, but these bikes are getting old and it's harder to find original OEM fairing for these. A triple tree upper is 75 bucks and a left mirror is 30 bucks. So that would make this bike, if you fixed everything, that would make this bike 3,035 bucks for a rider. Man, it's a ZX10. That's awesome. That's a good price. What's it worth? Kelly Blue Book says it's worth $5,000. I'd believe that. If it didn't have a reconstructed title, which it does. So with a reconstructed title, I think the value is right around 4,000 bucks all fixed up. So could you make money? Yeah, you can make a quick $1,000. I think this thing all cleaned up for 4,000 bucks would sell pretty fast. Those are higher miles, but I will say this: the last ZX10 I tore down, I did a compression check and it had the same amount of miles. This bike I tore down had 45,000 miles, and I did a compression check on it and it was still 160 psi in all the cylinders. It just blew me away. These engines are just super tough. So I mean, I will obviously do the same, but you know, I'll do a compression check on this before I list the engine, and I would assume it's going to be close to the same. So, you know, it's all good. This is a good fix and flip or personal rider. Love these ZX10s. I go after every one I can get my hands on. Well, that should do it. So hopefully you guys like this video. Give me a thumbs up or maybe a subscription if you want, and I'll keep trying to make more of them as I get them. Thanks. Hey guys, I just wanted to do a little update, show you something. So I'm assuming this is just a cheap China rear set, and if you look here at the shifter shaft, they have this set up in GP shifting, which is all backwards, which is just weird. But because the throw of this isn't factory, it puts this shifter lever should be straight up and down where it has most leverage, right? And because this is too long and I have this all the way at the back setting, which the prior owner did not, they had it at the front setting, and this arm was right like this, so there's very little leverage, and it made it really difficult to shift, and as a result it really side loaded the shifter shaft, which, as you can see, caused the shifter shaft to leak. So here is a prime example of cheap, very poor engineering rear sets that flex. See that? They flex. It's just not a big fan of. They flex, and it was poor engineering, and it caused that seal to leak. You know, Maybe a high dollar set of Woodcraft or something like that might be better engineered, but the cheap China stuff, guys, look what it did. Now granted, this could have been on there for 20,000 miles and it caused that to do that, but I don't know. I've seen a lot of bikes and this is just, I don't like this setup. Not a big fan. I would have left it the rear set stock or bought a high quality one. Just thought I'd throw that tip in there.